Hello, I'm WOTLK and this is my channel. Today I wanted to take some time to talk about the Survival Hunter Wrath of the Lich King damage rotation. In this video, we're going to talk about single target and AoE damage rotations, and when to choose between the two. We're also going to be talking about how to track that damage and how to compare it against other hunters that are performing at the top 1%. Luckily for hunters, our damage rotations overall are pretty simple. So let's talk about single target first. You're always going to want to start by casting Misdirection on your main tank, or whoever the raid leader asks you to cast it on. You then will want to make sure your hunter's mark is placed on your main target before the pull. Always ask your raid leader or your main tank for a pull timer so that you can get that pre-pot off before the pull. If you don't know what pre-potting is, it's using a potion right before a boss pull or before combat starts. That way that you're able to use multiple potions within a single encounter once that 1 minute cooldown is off. You might think that pre-potting isn't going to equal out to much damage in the long run, but over the course of 13 different bosses inside of Naxxramas, it does equal out to be a significant damage increase. And if you're looking for those 99 parses, you're going to have to do it. As a survival hunter, you have two potion options to choose from. One being Potions of Speed, and the other being Potions of Wild Magic. Potions of Speed seems to be the top choice for most survival hunters once they're geared, while Potions of Wild Magic seems to be a more favored potion for hunters while they're gearing up. If your guild or your raid values your hunter damage that you're bringing to the party, then they're going to coordinate with you so that you can pre-trap. And the tank is going to drag the boss into where you put the traps, or you're going to get a flow within that raid where you know where that tank usually is going to drag that boss, and you're going to want to go ahead and place traps there ahead of time. Those traps are going to be Explosive Trap, Snake Trap, and Frost Trap. This is going to allow you to get immediate damage, get those traps on cooldown, as well as putting a Frost Trap ahead of time allows you to get a 100% chance of lock and load as soon as that boss is kited over those traps. Once all that is set, you're ready to do damage. The first spell you're going to want to use to get it on cooldown, get a good opener, and boost the tank's aggro on the boss is going to be your Explosive Shot. And then you're going to follow it with Serpent Sting while you're running in to get close to the boss. If you're not a trap weaving hunter, or the fight doesn't call for trap weaving, then you don't have to get close to the boss, but trap weaving maximizes your DPS more than not trap weaving. So I'm suggesting to trap weave on any boss that you can. Now you should be at the boss by now. If for some reason you weren't able to pre-trap, this is when you should be placing an explosive trap at the boss's feet. Once you do that, you can sidestep to get away from the boss and get to range where you can start range attacking him. Or you can use your disengage and then slowly start stutter stepping up to the boss in between spells when they're on the global cooldown. On the screen is a list of the bosses that you should trap, you shouldn't trap, you should pre-trap on. You can use this as a little cheat sheet for phase 1 bosses on who to trap for and who not to. Next on the screen is a damage rotation depending on the situation you find yourself in. The first damage rotation we're going to talk about here is going to be the damage rotation that you're going to use if you're able to pre-trap and you're able to trap throughout the fight. The next one we're going to talk about is the event that you can't pre-trap, but you can still trap throughout the fight. And the last one we're going to talk about is if you can't get a pre-trap off and you can't use traps throughout the fight. If you're able to pre-trap as well as trap throughout the fight, you're going to start off by casting Misdirection on the tank. Then you're going to Explosive Shot, Serpent Sting, Black Arrow. Then you're going to use Explosive Shot 434, the macro, followed by Steady Shot, then Multi-Shot, then continue using Explosive Shot on cooldown and using up lock and load procs with 434. Using Multi-Shot and Explosive Trap on cooldown and filling with Steady Shot. The main difference if you cannot pre-trap is you won't have a 434 proc right off the rip. Other than that, your opener and your damage rotation is pretty much the same. Finally, if you can't trap on bosses due to the hitbox, you will replace any explosive traps with Black Arrow. For your damage cooldowns, I recommend using them at the start, or right as the boss is being pulled. Those are Rapid Fire, Call of the Wild, Rabid, Furious Howl, and Hyperspeed Accelerators. Alternatively, you could opt to use these while you have Heroism. You also should have Hyperspeed Accelerators macroed into spells that would benefit from it, like Volley or Steady Shot. Next is your AoE damage rotation, meaning 3 or more targets. Your rotation is pretty simple. Always misdirect the tank, pre-trap if you can, and use your volley until explosive trap is off cooldown. If there is still more than 3 enemies up with significant health, still use your trap again and continue to volley till they are dead. You can opt to use your lock and load procs if you would like to by spreading rank 4 explosive shot on multiple targets or on one target, but most likely it will be better off just using volley. Now let's talk about tracking your damage. You can track your damage in multiple ways in World of Warcraft. If you want to track it in real time, an add-on like Details is perfect for this. You can see what your damage overall, your DPS is, the healing that's being done around you, what your aggro is, all in real time, which is great. But there are tools that are a lot better for coming back to that information, as well as comparing yourself to other hunters that are in the top 1%. One of the best tools to do this is called Warcraft Logs, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Warcraft Logs tracks your combat data and allows you to import that onto their website. It tracks things like your gear, your overall damage, the healing that's done. It'll even show you things like where your positioning was and how you moved throughout the fight. You can also use it to show a timeline of when and where you use spells and how often you use them, as well as like when trinkets procced or talents procced. So it's very useful information. It's overall an insanely useful tool for any level of World of Warcraft player, and if you're not using it yet, I highly suggest using it. Plus it's free, so why not? In order to use the tool, you're going to want to download their client. You can do this by going to the website and clicking Download Client at the top. Alternatively, you can go to Overwolf if you have it downloaded, click on World of Warcraft, and download the Warcraft Logs companion app. To do this, you need to make sure that the advanced combat logging is enabled. This is required in order for logs to be accepted on the site. Go to the network pane of the system preferences in game, and you'll see it there. To start tracking the data before your raid or dungeon starts, type in chat /combat log, and now you're ready. Once you have completed your raid, you can pull up the Warcraft Logs companion app and upload the file. Then you can choose to view it on the app or on the site. Today, we will talk about viewing it on the site. If you click to view it on the site, you'll be presented with this screen. You can take the link from here and post it in your Discord to share the information with your friends. If you enter Warcraft Logs by typing it into your browser, make sure to look at the top left that you have Classic selected. Once you do that, you can click on Rankings, and then you can filter for whatever class you're trying to look for. In this case, we'll be looking at Hunters. You can also filter by Progress, Speedrun, or Execution Guild. Switch between the damage and healing parses, and specify damage to bosses or healing to tanks under the damage filter. You can even filter by raid size, region, faction, and item levels, should you choose to. In this case, we're not going to touch damage filters. We're not going to touch complete raids. We're going to set it to 25 player mode. Only looking at US and EU servers. We will filter by survival hunters. And we won't change anything else. For now, let's look at the #1 survival hunter in the world. He's called Bowman. If we click on his profile by clicking on his name, we can see his latest parses. If we want to compare our parses to his, we can click on his name again specifically. Then we can filter by the encounter that we want to talk about here. For this case, we'll just take a look at Patchwork, since it's a pretty simple fight. Next, depending on what you want to view, you can narrow it down even further. But for this video, we're going to take a look at how to view his timeline and compare our timeline to his. To do that, you can click on timelines in the top right. Here you can scroll along the fight and filter out certain spells that you don't want to pay attention to, or just overall compare your parses to his. This is a great tool to figure out where you might be lacking or what spells you're not keeping enough uptime on compared to the #1 hunter in the world. You can also opt to view this in a different way by clicking on events. This is going to show you what happened and when it happened in a different style of view. Also, if you're curious to find out someone's positioning throughout a fight, you can click at the top right and click replay. From here, you can filter out who you want to be paying attention to, or you can keep everybody on the watch list and hit play in the bottom left to see where everybody moves, when they move, and just other general information throughout the fight. This tool has a lot more information. The farther you dive in, the more you find out. But for the purpose of this video, this is where I'm going to leave it here. I highly encourage each and every one of you to dive deeper into this program, because it will only result in you becoming a better hunter. That's it for today, folks. Thank you for watching until the end. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments, and if you're interested in supporting the channel, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification button. If you want to catch me live on Twitch, the link is down in the video's description below. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day. Peace.